champions in every election everywhere where reproductive rights are at stake. And make no mistake, reproductive rights are at stake right now. The people of New York, we have to stand up for our country, and we have to fight for our country, and we have to fight for our reproductive freedom and freedom in this country. Yes. Today you're going to hear from some very incredible activists and pro-choice champions who are determined to stand for our freedom. I want to thank everyone for participating, particularly WAR, because this is WAR, which stands for Women's Health and Reproductive Rights. This is WAR. This is WAR. This is WAR. The Working Families Party, Persist 81, March On, Women for Justice, Alliance for Quality Education, RHA Vote, and we have some incredible former elected officials and people running for office, including Melissa Mark Viverito from the Latino Victory Fund. Yes, some pro-choice champion candidates who are running against the Senate turncoat Trump Democrats of the Independent Democratic Conference. We're going to hear from Jessica Ramos, Alessandra Biaggi, Rachel May, Julie Goldberg, and Jazzy Robinson. We're going to hear from candidate for Attorney General Zephyr Teachout and candidate for Governor Cynthia Nixon. So thank you all for being here. So let's talk about the situation we are in right now. We are here primarily to fight the Supreme Court appointment and send a message to our elected officials to do whatever it takes to stop this nomination and do whatever it takes to protect reproductive freedom in New York. Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court is a grave, grave threat to our freedom. Make no mistake, he is a conservative, anti-choice judge who will overturn Roe v. Wade and will let that orange-tinted Russian asset in the White House get away with every crime he has committed. Make no mistake. This is a crisis of democracy, and we are not exaggerating, right? Right.
Unfortunately.
This Kavanaugh guy, just to be clear, people are going to say, oh, he supports precedent, we don't know what he's going to stand, he believes in the law, whatever. This Kavanaugh guy wrote the decision that required a 17-year-old detained immigrant, prevented her from having an abortion. I want you to let that sink in. This was in October. A detained, pregnant, 17-year-old woman was forced to continue a pregnancy that she did not want. This guy is more than anti-choice. He is a forced birther. There are simply no synonyms for despicable that describe this guy. There's not enough synonyms in the English language or any language. We will be hearing today from partners and candidates about why we have to fight this nomination, but I want you all to keep the faith, because we can win this. This is how. Number one, keep in mind, 72% of American voters believe a woman should have access to abortion that is safe, legal, affordable, accessible, and without shame. We are a pro-choice nation. Am I right? Pro-choice nation. Yes. This is about freedom and control when we are all in this together. So we have to include women, men, LGBTQIA, our transgender brothers and sisters, families, everybody. This is about freedom and control. Remember this. To the media and all the activists, we have to stop using the term pro-life. No more. No more. These people are not pro-life. This is anti-choice. Now remember, 1 in 4 women have terminated a pregnancy before the age of 45. 1 in 4. I'm 1 in 4. A lot of us are 1 in 4. 2/3 of those women are mothers, and 87% of those women do not regret it. So remember, this is about freedom and control. And we can win this. Yes, we can win this. So, number one, call your senators, all of them. We have to remember our friend Chuck Schumer, he's a little wobbly, he needs a backbone, he needs some calls. Dianne Feinstein, ranking member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, you know, she thinks the politics are as usual are still going on. They are not. It's all different. We've got Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, Heidi Heidkamp, Joe Manchin, Joe Donnelly. They must vote pro-choice. They must hear from you. Yes, and they must be told that they can vote pro-choice and still win and keep their seats, because we know that that's what they care about. So here's the thing. If they don't vote pro-choice, we will vote pro-choice, and we will vote them out. So we will vote pro-choice. Yes? Vote pro-choice, people. Vote pro-choice. Now, we also need to talk a little bit about what's really going on here in New York. Everyone wants to think New York is the bastion of reproductive health. And if you were to hear our governor talk about it, you would think that too. But let's be clear. New York does not have abortion fully protected or birth control fully protected in our state legislative races. So we are going to hear from some candidates today who are going to explain what the situation in New York really is. But I want to be clear, Governor Cuomo is having all of these rallies yesterday and today talking about the Reproductive Health Act and calling for a special session. Let's be honest. The guy has had 8 years to get this passed, and he has not done it. So we need to be honest about what's really going on in New York. So we have some great speakers who are going to tell us all about it. Right? Right. So vote pro-choice. Vote pro-choice. That's right. That's right. So let's hear from some of our speakers. We have our first candidate who's running against the Independent Democratic Conference leader, Jeff Klein. First up is Alessandra Biaggi.
Hello. My name is Alessandra Biaggi, and I'm a candidate for the New York State Senate in District 34 against State Senator Jeff Klein. I've worked in Albany, and I also worked on the Reproductive Health Act after Donald Trump was our president. And I was appalled, like many of you who are standing here with me today, to learn and to know that Roe v. Wade in New York State was not codified. But we had this Reproductive Health Act, and it was post-Trump. And New York is this progressive beacon that the rest of the country looks at. Except after the end of the legislative session in 2017, the Reproductive Health Act didn't pass. And not only did it not pass, it never came out of committee. And not only did it not come out of committee, but my opponent was the reason that it did not come out of committee. We are not safe in New York because Roe v. Wade is not codified. It is not a matter of if, but when Roe v. Wade will be overturned. It is not a matter of if, but when women's health will continue and be under attack. And the only reasonable and democratic thing to do in New York State is to pass the Reproductive Health Act. It is... Many states are lapping us, and it is embarrassing that we do not have a sanctuary reproductive state in New York. So I am urging our legislators to not only come back for a special session, but if you can't get it done then we will do it next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Alessandra. Okay, next up, I'm very, very pleased to introduce a former Speaker of the City Council and Executive Director of the Latino Victory Fund, Melissa Mark Viverito.
I want to thank everyone that is here. When I was growing up in Puerto Rico, my mother was part of the feminist movement. She was a leader in Puerto Rico. I was raised in that environment where women were fighting for rights, reproductive rights, equality for lesbians and the LGBT community. That is what I was raised in. And to be at this point in our life where we potentially will see the rights that many of our mothers and our sisters fought for be rescinded is something that makes my blood boil. And it should make all of our blood boil. And so I stand here to say that I am committed to putting my body on the line, because this is how real it is, people. We need to make sure that the assault on our democracy, the assault on our civil rights, and all of that is fair and just, and that we should be aspiring to, not that we're perfect, but that's what we should be aspiring to, that we will fight for it with our bodies on the line. So I ask our Democratic leaders, I ask our Senator Chuck Schumer to do everything that is possible to ensure that we block this nomination. And that if we have to go into the halls of Congress and disrupt, we will do that. Mi cuerpo, mi decisión. Es mi cuerpo y es mi decisión. Nadie me va a quitar ese derecho. Y tenemos que hacer todo lo necesario y lo justo para asegurar de que esta nominación no siga hacia adelante. Y el senador Schumer, nuestro senador, tiene que asegurar de que lucha por todos nosotros y que no adelante esta nominación. Thank you very much.
Now that, my friends, is a pro-choice champion. Make no mistake. Thank you so much. Next up, I'm so excited to introduce you to Julie Goldberg, who's a candidate for the New York State Senate running in District 38, which is Westchester and Rockland County. She's running against the Independent Democratic Conference. Julie Goldberg!
It is really hard to find optimism in this treacherous moment. But I have to say that looking around at this crowd, this diverse crowd of committed leaders and activists, people from every community in this city and state, that gives me hope. We need to come together today and every day to shout a no that will be heard from Union Square all the way to the steps of the Supreme Court. Let me hear it now. Are we going to let them take away our right to choose? No! Are we going to let them compromise our bodily autonomy? No! Are we ever going to let them stop short of our full equality? You're damn right we're not. Because we know that we are living through the last gasp of an oppressive old order. The one where men had authority over women, where white people had authority over black and brown people, where abled people had authority over disabled people, and where the rich had authority over all the rest of us. And these are dangerous times. These people are dangerous because no oppressor in history ever went down without a fight. We see their desperate clinging to this old order in the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the Supreme Court. They want the dead hand of their old oppressive order pressing down on our children and grandchildren decades after they're gone. They are dangerous the way a cornered animal is dangerous. Reckless because they know their time is almost up. That's right. But we are not waiting patiently for the end of this old order. We can't. Not while our lives and our daughters' lives are on the line. Because you cannot outlaw abortion. You can only outlaw safe and legal abortion. That's right. And we are not going to let anyone drag us back to the days of back alley abortions where women died. Abortion rights are equality rights. Abortion rights are the rights to bodily autonomy. And there is no two ways about that. There is no middle ground, compromise, IDC, kind of nebulous middle ground on that issue. It does not exist. Either you believe that the state has authority over our bodies, or you believe that we have the first and last word about our bodies and every word in between. If the state can tell us when, where, and how we can exercise our right to bodily autonomy, then these are not rights, but privileges. And I refuse to believe or to accept the idea that your bodily autonomy or mine is a privilege to be doled out by President Donald Trump, or Chief Justice John Roberts, or a New York Senate Majority Leader John Flanagan, or Senator Jeff Klein, or Senator David Carlucci, or anyone else. The battle for women's equality is a long one, and it has inexcusably excluded so many people: disabled women, women of color, poor women, Native women, immigrant women, queer women, and people of all genders or none. But not anymore. We are all in this together now, fighting this fight against this dying old order of oppressive authority, and we will win. Our generation did not begin the fight for full equality and bodily autonomy, but I'm telling you, we will end it. Thank you.
Yes! So before Julie Goldberg ran for office, she was a librarian. Beware the librarians. Next up, we have a candidate for New York State Senate in District 53, Syracuse and Utica. We have Rachel May running against the IDC.
Hi, everybody, and thank you for being here. Where I live in Syracuse, the Planned Parenthood clinic is about half a mile from my house. And every day, in rain or shine or snow, there are people outside protesting. We need to stand up for our reproductive rights every single day. This is an urgent moment, but they're all urgent moments. We've had them for a long time, and it is long past time for us to pass the the Reproductive Health Act here in New York. My district is a little different from some of these downstate districts because the city of Syracuse is in it, but there are also a lot of suburbs and rural towns and farmland in my district. A lot of those women who live there are not well served by reproductive health clinics. They have to go a long way already to get that kind of service. Women of low income, women of color are going to be most victimized when we start attacking reproductive rights. And we need to stand up for them. We need to stand up for all of them, for all of us women who deserve those rights that Julie just spoke about so eloquently. When I go door to door in my district, there are a lot of pretty conservative people on a lot of issues, but they will say to me, "Are you pro-choice?" And I say yes, and they say, "Good for you." So even if they're not with us on every issue, they're with us on this issue. This is an issue we need to protect proudly, and we, as Democratic candidates trying to unseat IDC members, we need to be proud about our pro-choice values. Let me tell you about the IDC. It isn't just that they have blocked these bills. They have also made it harder for Democrats to win in a lot of our upstate districts. So we would have a majority long ago if it weren't for them. So there are lots of reasons we need to vote them out this fall. I hope all of you will remember the primary is on a Thursday in September the 13th. Be sure you vote. Be sure you tell your friends all over the state. This is a statewide issue, and we need to protect our reproductive rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel May. It is really important for us to get really honest about what is going on in New York, and we have to be electing pro-choice champions in every election everywhere. That is why Vote Pro-Choice so proudly endorses a gubernatorial candidate who will protect our reproductive freedom, will protect the rights of all of us. I'm pleased to welcome Cynthia Nixon, who's running for governor of New York.
Heidi, so much, and thank you, everyone who's here. This is a terrifying moment in our country, and it seems that almost every day something more terrifying comes from the Trump administration. And yesterday we saw the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. And if he is confirmed, we can be sure that Roe versus Wade will be hanging in the balance. And if it is overturned, we have 20 states in this country who are eager to make abortion illegal in their states. New York is not one of them, but New York women are left very vulnerable here because we have never codified Roe versus Wade. We have not passed the Comprehensive Contraceptive Care Act. These are bills that our Governor Andrew Cuomo has said he supports, has paid lip service to, but he has never prioritized them. He has prioritized supporting the IDC. He has prioritized supporting the Republicans in the state Senate, ensuring that these bills will never be brought up for a vote. He has prioritized tax cuts for poor corporations. He has prioritized giving lucrative state contracts to some of his largest donors. He has not prioritized women's issues and women's health, despite saying, as he did yesterday, that he is a feminist. He said that God made him a feminist when he made him the... That's what I think. Andrew Cuomo said yesterday that God made him a feminist when he made him the father of 3 daughters. I agree with the woman in the crowd who said if there is someone up there, I think it's a she. And I am tired of men saying that they support women's rights because they are the father of daughters. Why don't you support our rights because we're human beings? Why don't you support our rights because it's the right thing to do? Andrew Cuomo oversaw the writing of a sexual harassment bill this season in Albany without a single female legislator present to weigh in. Once again, Andrea Stewart Cousins was not welcomed. She was barred from that room because Andrew Cuomo, again, prefers that budgets and legislation be written by 4 men in a room. We are long past the time in New York State and in the United States of America when laws concerning women's bodies are written without us present, without our input, without our being seated at the table as stakeholders. That's right, nothing about us without us. And the way women in New York have been left vulnerable in terms of abortion, in terms of contraceptive care, it is because Andrew Cuomo has thought first and foremost about his political career and positioning himself to run for president in a centrist way rather than fighting for the real needs of everyday New Yorkers. Abortion rights and reproductive rights is a very personal issue for me. My mother had an abortion here in New York State before it was legal. And when I was old enough, she made sure to tell me about it. It was very hard for her to speak about. She didn't give me a lot of details, but it was very important for her to tell me that she had had an abortion, that it had been illegal, and that it had been a tremendously awful experience. She had wanted me to make sure that I knew her history and New York's history so I could fully value how crucial reproductive freedom is. And I was thinking about her a lot today. And I opened my closet, and something caught my eye that struck me in a different way today than it did yesterday. And so I have brought it along. This is a wire hanger. And for those of you too young to remember, this is something that women in this state and in this country were driven to use out of fear and desperation, performing abortions on themselves, often with devastating effects to their health and sometimes to their life. We must never, ever, ever go back to a time when any woman feels that she has to make this kind of a choice. And this is why we must fight like hell in New York and across the country. We must fight to preserve Roe versus Wade so that no woman will ever feel compelled to use something like this on herself again. Thank you.
It has never in the history of our country been so important to vote pro-choice. And I'm so grateful for all of these pro-choice champions who are willing to step up and run against all odds, against establishment, against the party, because it's the right thing to do, and our values have to be codified and held close to us. So next up is a candidate for New York State Senate in District 13, Queens, running against the Independent Democratic Conference, Jessica Ramos.
Was it something I said?
No, it's for you.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Ramos. I am running for State Senate in Queens. I'm running to represent a district that is largely women of color. A district that doesn't have any hospital beds. A district that is sorely lacking in access to adequate health care. We have a tiny clinic on Roosevelt Avenue and 90th Street where Jackson Heights becomes Corona, where many undocumented women seek to find the services that they need for the hardest decisions that they have to make. So I'm here to say, yes, we are going to make sure that we get that Reproductive Health Act passed. But reproductive justice is a class issue. Lest we forget that women of color, that working women, need to have access to these services because the economy is largely the reason why women end up making this decision in the first place. Estoy aquí para rechazar la nominación de Brian Kavanaugh al Tribunal Supremo de este país, a rechazar las decisiones que ha hecho este presidente racista y xenófoba. Estoy corriendo para representar a muchas mujeres de color, entre ellas una comunidad inmensa de mujeres indocumentadas. Para nosotros es primordial, cuando se trata no solamente de justicia reproductiva, sino de justicia económica, que nosotros pasemos el acta de salud reproductiva y que nos aseguremos de que cada mujer en este estado tenga acceso a un aborto seguro. I'm so glad to stand here with so many of my future colleagues. The future is female. Many people don't know that out of 63 state senators, currently only 14 are women. So we don't want just to replace a couple of people in that 4 men in a room. We want to get to a place where it's 4 women in a room. We're a united front, and together we will codify Roe v. Wade in New York. Thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's so, again, critical to get these pro-choice champions elected everywhere. And that's what I keep saying. We have to have pro-choice champions in every election everywhere, and that includes everything from school boards to water boards to all of our law enforcement positions, because these are the folks that are going to be enforcing the laws that sometimes can prevent women from accessing abortion, or like in Indiana, where they will throw women in jail for self-inducing an abortion. That cannot happen. Yeah. That's why we're really delighted to have with us today a candidate for Attorney General, Zephyr Teachout, a pro-choice champion.
My name is Zephyr Teachout, and I'm running for Attorney General of the state of New York. And I want to talk to you about justice. You know, the statute of justice is a woman, and she's got a sword in her hand. And she is not going to lay down that sword until we stop this nomination and get Roe versus Wade codified in New York State. I know a little bit about the Constitution. And I got to tell you, I am mad that we are here today. Because it is unprecedented for a president under investigation to appoint somebody who will be a judge on those investigations. That violates the most basic principle of law. But since we are here today, I want to tell you that we are not going to let Brett Kavanaugh take away our Constitution. Because abortion rights are constitutional rights. Pro-choice rights are freedom rights. Pro-choice is a basic matter of dignity. It is a basic matter of privacy enshredded in our Constitution. And they are not just trying to appoint a Supreme Court justice, they are trying to steal the sacred laws of our country away from us. I am not going to let Donald Trump tell me what I can do with my body. I was 2 years old when Roe versus Wade happened. I grew up with the promise of freedom, of being treated as a full equal in our society, understanding that I had the full right, threatened, always threatened, but the full right, the promise of the full right to make my own choices about my own body. I have somebody kicking inside here. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl. I don't know if it's a boy or a girl, but I know she can kick. And I am not going to let her come into this world where she is not treated as a full and equal part of our democratic society. Helping each other out. So we are going to stop this. We are going to make sure that Chuck Schumer knows we are going to stop this. And we are going to, in New York, codify Roe versus Wade and be the counterexample. Because they come at us with fear, with a lot of money, with lawlessness, with corrupt tactics, but we are coming back with love and anger and community and solidarity, and we are going to win this fight. Thank you.
Wow, it is hot out here, and we need to make democracy as hot as it feels right now for all of these anti-choice elected officials. Am I right? So here's the thing about reproductive freedom. It really impacts all of us, men, women, transgender people, non-binary people, families, everybody. It does. But deeply, deeply impacts people who are lower income, women of color, transgender people, and we need to really own that and understand it. So many white women like me have been leading the fight for reproductive rights for so long, but the key is to understand that this is about freedom and justice for everybody. So next we're going to hear from some amazing, another pro-choice champion candidate who's running against the Independent Democratic Conference, Jazzy Robinson, who's running in Staten Island. Okay, she's working her way through the hot mess. So, next up, we've got some more people who are going to speak. We are very happy to have an organizational partner with the Working Families Party. And here from the Working Families Party is Zenaida Mendez, who is the former president of the New York's National Organization for Women and the leader of the National Dominican Women's Caucus, to talk to us.
Saludos, good afternoon. Yo soy Zenaida Méndez y le quiero decir que nosotras no podemos dejar que este representante que ha puesto el presidente de los Estados Unidos sea el que nos va a representar en la Suprema Corte. I thought that we had seen it all. You know, I've been fighting for years, marginalized community, women of color, and I thought that this was it. Now, last night, what happened last night is just incredible. So we cannot allow that black cannibal be the one who represents us. So I've been fighting against domestic violence, sexual assault, immigrant rights, the housing crisis, underfunded education. So when I was the president of the National Organization for Women in New York State, I can tell you we have there, or we could have had the opportunity in 2014 to codify the Roe v. Wade in New York State. And what happened? I blocked Jeff Klein's door. I was arrested in Albany for blocking his door because he would not allow the legislation to come to the floor. So we know. Okay. Now, make no mistake, yesterday announcement of Brett Kavanaugh, a strong scouting nominee, means that the right to safe and legal abortion in this country is under imminent and enormous attack. I have never seen what's going on in the United States. Remember, what happens in the United States affects us globally. Yes. This is not just the United States. We're talking about the entire continent. We're talking about Latin America. We're talking about Africa. What happened here affects us everywhere. So this is really important. Last year, in his position as judge, Kavanaugh ruled to block an undocumented woman from getting an abortion. A woman who have recently crossed to our soil, power to empower, and he also empowered the bosses and many employment to make sure that they didn't get birth control in their health care system. If he got that done in the Court of Appeal, it does not take much imagination to predict that he might do it in the Supreme Court. I am here today on behalf of the Working Family Party because the Working Family Party really care about families who are working in New York State and making sure that we're going to have a new governor that really is going to really show and going to fight for the people who work in this state. In New York, Governor Cuomo and the Independent Democratic Conference senator have claimed to be pro-choice. For years, the Reproductive Health Act, which could have codified Roe v. Wade, years ago, has sat in the state legislature without passage for nearly a decade. Yesterday, as many of you heard, Cuomo stood up and had the gall to call for the passage of the act, as if he cared about our reproductive freedom. All right? After helping block this legislation for 8 years. So if it wasn't for Cynthia Nixon, he wouldn't be doing what he did yesterday. All right? A mis hermanas latinas, le quiero decir que tenemos la pelea de la década, la pelea del siglo. Nosotras más que todas vamos a ser afectadas por esta legislación. Las mujeres latinas, las mujeres afroamericanas, Tenemos que pelear para asegurarnos que se nos respete. Tenemos que asegurarnos que cambiemos los legisladores en Albany y en el Congreso de los Estados Unidos. Our legislators have to fight for us. We're paying their salary to fight for us. All right? They are here, so each one of us has the responsibility to call your legislator, make sure that they know that we are watching, that we're going to organize, and they want to make sure that they're going to fight for us, or they are out of there. Aquí estamos para asegurarnos que nosotras vamos a estar protegidas y vamos a elegir mujeres y hombres que nos van a representar. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Do you love the warriors that are out fighting for us? Is everybody good? Yes. Look at us. It's like burning hot and we're still standing here in the fire. Am I right? Yes. Yes. Okay, next we have a real warrior now. Jazzy Robinson running in Staten Island.
Thank you. I can't hear you. Thank you. Thank you. For those that don't know me or kind of know me, my name is Jazzy Robinson, and I'm running for New York State Senate, the 23rd District, which includes the North Shore of Staten Island and South Brooklyn. Shout out to Coney Island, Gravesend, Brighton, Gravesend. I'm here. I'm here today for all of us. It is a shame that in 2018 that we have to fight for our rights. It is a shame that we have to be here together and condemn hate of Donald Trump. But you know, my fellow resistor and fellow Staten Islander, Therese Patricia Okumu, and she said that she took the words of Michelle Obama to heart, literally. She said, when they go low, we go high. And she said that I had to go higher. And that's what she did by climbing the Statue of Liberty. She went higher. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go higher. And what are we going to do? We're going to go higher and we're going to inspire. This is not the time for us to feel defeated. This is not the time for us to give up. The battle has just begun. So what we're all going to need to do is come out and vote in each and every election. King Cuomo and his allies are sending out flyers trying to diminish the no IDC challengers and the primary challengers. But you know what? We're here today to fight, because for far too long, the state Senate has been holding progressive legislation hostage. That hostage deal is over. So what we're going to need commitment from all of you to come out September 13th to vote. To vote for me. To vote for the rest of the resistors that are out here. Alexandra, Jessica Ramos, Julie, Rachel, the Fab Five. Because no knock to Cynthia. We're not knocking Cynthia, but it was us. We did this. We were the catalysts. We did this. All right? Get it straight. We did this. This was us. We put the fear in Cuomo. We put the fear. This was us. The Fab Five right here. And I'll tell you something else. For those that don't know me, I grew up in the Bronx. That's right. Shout out to the Bronx. And I moved to Staten Island. So I always say this. I started from the Bronx. Now I'm here. I started from the Bronx. And my mother's here. And my whole team is here. Get fired up. Because it's time. We are at war. We got to prepare for battle. We can march and we can protest all we want. But the real change is within all of us here today, standing together. So what are we going to do September the 13th? Vote! I can't hear you. Vote! Say it again. Vote! What are we going to do? Vote! We're going to get what? Inspired. We're not going to get tired. We're going to go higher. Say it with me. We're going to go higher. Say it again. Higher. Say it again. Higher. Thank you.
Come up so we can take it. Yeah. Vote pro-choice. 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 Vote pro-choice.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, we're going to do this, you all. We can win. We can win. So the last few speakers are people that are out there fighting so much for all of our rights. As we said before, this is about reproductive freedom, but it's about reproductive justice. And what reproductive justice is really about is our ability to live in a thriving community and build families that thrive in communities that are authentic to us. And that's so important to understand that it's not just about abortion and birth control, while important. It's also about clean air, good environment, and opportunity for jobs and good paying jobs and a living wage and education. So I'm very delighted to welcome Zakaya Ansari from the Alliance for Quality Education to talk to us today.
Here we are again. So anyway, my name is Zakaya Ansari. I'm the Advocacy Director for a statewide alliance called the Alliance for Quality Education. Thank you. I am raising 8 children. 7 of them are daughters. I have 2 granddaughters. And this is ridiculous. I think in January, the Women's March drew the line in the sand when it organized the largest rally in history, led by 3 women of color, with a mantra of the rise of the woman equals the rise of the nation. As a black Muslim woman, okay, I'm going to keep going because I'm going to keep going. All right, I'm going to keep going. So as I watch TV and I notice that the news is asking the question about Mitch McConnell, about do we think it's right that people are following him around, telling him that he's doing the wrong thing. First of all, it's a horrible question because he's doing horrible things and he does not get a chance to walk freely without being accosted by people who care. What's happening right now in regards on the federal level, regardless of what happens, whether this justice gets appointed or not, the attacks are clear on women. The attacks are clear on black and brown folks. The attacks are clear on our immigrant brothers and sisters. The attacks are clear on the LGBTQ community. The attacks are clear on our Native American brothers and sisters. The attacks are clear on our Muslim brothers and sisters. Right? So regardless of what happens, we need to make sure that we are holding the line and fighting back. Right? So this is about pro-choice. Pro-choice, yes, and we can do this on the statewide level, and we need to continue to fight. But if you care about criminal justice reform, if you care about health care, if you care about voting rights, if you care about climate change, if you care about immigration reform, then you should be equally outraged at what's happening right now. Because all of that is at stake. All of that is at stake right now as we stand here with this justice. All of that is at stake, and then some. But I want to say, let's not be distracted by Cuomo's "woe is me, I can't do anything" attitude. I have been fighting for the last almost 18 years for educational justice. And in 8 of those years, just like he hasn't passed the Reproductive Health Act, he has not passed this campaign for fiscal equity and ensure that the billions of dollars that are owed to black, brown, and poor children throughout this state are funded. 8 years he had the opportunity to make sure that children in our state had what they needed. And in 8 years, he has gone zero. So I say that because there's a pattern here. There's a pattern by Governor Cuomo to create this woe is me mentality that there's nothing I can do when he created the IDC. So let's be clear about that. He allows these things to happen. If there's nothing we learned from number 45, that when leadership wants something, you can make it happen. So the governor is hiding behind false claims of not being able to do anything. We got his number. And so as I want to finish by saying this, we can do a lot. We're doing it here. We can have marches. We can do all of that. And we need to do all of that. But no matter what happens right now, the fight must continue. No matter what happens tomorrow or with this decision, the fight must continue. No matter what happens, we cannot allow Cuomo to smokescreen us, to act like he can't do anything and he's different than Trump. Because the bar is so low on being different than Trump that a fly could crawl under that bar. So, having said that, and someone who's been fighting for more than 12 years to keep the campaign for fiscal equity funded, and 8 of that, and as I see black and brown and poor children all over the state scrap for what is needed, and educators try to get them what they need, social workers, art, music. And as I stand here today and see that we're talking about pro-choice, and then the governor once again has left that on the floor, just like he has left the DREAM Act, affordable housing, and everything else on the floor, let's not be distracted. We saw what could happen. Cynthia Nixon was right here. The goal is, do we sit here and lay silent, or do we fight back and vote when it's time to vote? The choice, if we're pro-choice, the choice is yours. You can vote. Vote out the people who are not working for us and continue to fight. Thank you.
You're amazing. Yes. Yes. Thank you. And our last speaker is represents the hope that I have that we will win. After this election in November, there was a rising sun of thousands of burning flames that awoke in thousands and millions of people across the country. People came out and engaged and got involved. They created organizations in their communities and circles in their communities to resist and persist and fight. Yes, and that's what we are doing here. So we are delighted to have one of our co-host organizations, Persist 81, who reflects all of those values. Persist 81, Hillary.
Thanks everyone for staying out. No, it's hot. I was lucky enough to be born with the right to choose. Now, that could have been a right that I would have easily taken for granted, but my mother, who had lost a friend in a botched abortion, made sure that I understood that the right I enjoyed was something that had been earned after years of struggle and paid for with the lives of too many women who had been denied the access to a safe medical procedure. Now, as we all stand here today, each of you is standing next to a woman who has had or will have an abortion in her lifetime. If we come together, if we raise our voices, we can drown out that small minority that has chipped away at our universal right to choose year after year after year. If we have learned anything in the last year and a half, it's that when we raise our voices together, we can affect change. So I challenge each and every one of you to fill the mailrooms, tie up the phone lines, stand in front of the offices of all of your representatives, and make sure that they understand that if you stand by while 50 years of progress is rolled back, you do not represent us. If you believe an entire gender can't be trusted to make their own reproductive decisions, you do not represent us. And if you are not going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that the right that we won in 1973 is the right we have today, is the right we have tomorrow, is the right we have for the next generation, then you do not represent us. So Senator Schumer, Governor Cuomo, New York State Senate, I hope you're listening. Because if you fail to fight for women's rights, we will fail to protect your seats. to do, right? Vote pro-choice, right? We're calling our senators. We're not saying pro-life anymore, and we're going to vote pro-choice and fight like hell. You are beautiful people. Thank you for coming out tonight.
Yes, vote pro-choice. 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 Thank you all. Vote pro-choice. What are we doing? That's it. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. Sorry, baby. I had a long hearing. That's my baby girl. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you. Erica. Okay, let's say no, I just got here. I'm so proud of you. Nice.
Yo, AJ!
Sorry, just taking a picture real quick. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. I have on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's website. I thought it was sold out. Hello. I had the grant. I don't know if I had that color. To me, it still takes me. Hello, Heidi. Hi. I'm a reporter for Gothamist. I'm so happy you're here. I love Gothamist. Awesome. Is it possible that I could just get a lineup of all the speakers? Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
All these work. So we're fighting for the Reproductive Health Act to be passed by the New York State Legislature, especially the state's.
Sure. Trying to get out of here? Just punch your table.
Thank you, Heidi, so much, and thank you, everyone who's here. This is a terrifying moment in our country, and it seems that almost every day something more terrifying comes from the Trump administration. And yesterday we saw the nomination of Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court. And if he is confirmed, we can be sure that Roe versus Wade will be hanging in the balance. And if it is overturned, we have 20 states in this country who are eager to make abortion illegal in their states. New York is not one of them, but New York women are left very vulnerable here because we have never codified Roe versus Wade. We have not passed the Comprehensive Contraceptive Care Act. These are bills that our Governor Andrew Cuomo has said he supports, has paid lip service to, but he has never prioritized them. He has prioritized supporting the IDC. He has prioritized supporting the Republicans in the state Senate, ensuring that these bills will never be brought up for a vote. He has prioritized tax cuts for poor corporations. He has prioritized giving lucrative state contracts to some of his largest donors. He has not prioritized women's issues and women's health, despite saying, as he did yesterday, that he is a feminist. He said that God made him a feminist when he made him the... That's what I think. Andrew...
Juliana Forlano here from ACT TV. We are covering live the Rally for Roe that is taking place in Union Square in New York City in 90-something degree weather. There's a large crowd gathered to protest Donald Trump's appointment, or nominee to the Supreme Court. One of the women who attended the rally is here with us. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
Hi, my name is Kiara Hubbard. I'm a sophomore at American University, and I happen to be stopping by this march today. I actually heard about it from social media, but the other day I read a New York Times article about how hard it is for women in third world countries to receive an abortion, and in a lot of places it's not even legal still, and I was just so moved by it. I read a story about a woman who was coerced by her husband and someone else who was actually forced to have sex with the person who was giving her an abortion, and her husband wanted her to go through with it, and it was just something it was something I've never heard before, and it just gives me chills talking about it right now. But this is so important, and I just feel so happy to be a part of something. And I just read this article the other day, and it's like I'm in real life now. Now
you're here,
a part of a movement, so it's just great.
Can you tell me a little bit about your peers? Are they aware, or are they just waking up to the things that are happening under the current administration that are going to affect them for the rest of their lives if they continue on like this?
Yeah, definitely. My friends are social activists involved in a lot of protests. I actually haven't been to that many protests, but I want to start getting involved, especially this summer. It's
a good time to do it.
I have a social justice internship, and it'd be great to have this as a component, but I just feel so honored to be here and in the city where we can voice our opinions and not be killed for it or not be punished. And in other countries, we wouldn't be able to do this. So
thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll be right back. You're watching ACT TV. Stick with us. Or are we cutting, or should I just grab other people? Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Can we?
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Should we find,
So we're going to speak here in a moment to Zephyr Teachout. She is running for Eric Schneiderman's old seat as New York State Attorney General, and we're looking forward to talking to her. I have interviewed her before when I was on WBAI, but I really hope the ACT TV audience is aware of who she is. Clearly she is. There's Donald Trump in a very hot mask. He's the Donald Trump that comes to all the protests, which is fantastic. As you can see, the crowd is not necessarily dispersing, but people are standing around talking to each other. There are a lot of activists. There are people for the Cynthia for New York. Cynthia Nixon spoke here just a few minutes ago. We're also going to speak to Vote Pro Choice's Heidi Seek as soon as she gets a moment. Hello. No, but I'd like to. Hi, Jazzy. Hi.
Jazzy's running for state senate.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
What district are you? Boom. What district are you running?
Hi, my name is Jazzy Robinson. I'm running for New York State Senate in the 23rd District.
Where's that?
The district is North Shore, Staten Island, and South Brooklyn. So.
Oh, that's awesome. That's Mitchell's district.
Oh, hey, well, get to know me. In Brooklyn, hey, get to know me, brother. I'm running because it's long overdue that we have a real progressive, a true blue Democrat in office. And one of my favorite authors, Mark Twain, said this: dirty diapers and politicians have one thing in common. They must be changed often and for the same reason. It's time for my district to have its pamper changed. It's time for a change.
What do you think about, it's really wonderful that you're running, and especially in parts of Staten Island, which has been known to, the only Trump commercials I see in all of New York City are from the people running on Staten Island.
Not all of Staten Island is Trump land. We went overwhelmingly, very strongly for Bernie Sanders, and there is a strong, progressive, true blue movement happening in Staten Island, and I'm proud to say that I'm one of the ones leading the way.
That's wonderful. Where can folks find out more about you?
Well, find out about me. You can find out about me. Vote Jazzy Robinson. Vote Jazzy, Jasi Robinson, ROBINSON.com.
Jazzy, is this your first time running for office?
Yes.
Why did you do it?
because it was time. And my opponent, Diane Savino, has not had a real challenger, and she has one in me. I'm going to be in this race September, but I'm also going to be in it to November.
What are the issues that got you, involved and so that it's time? You said it's time.
It's time. What got me into this is the fact that I knew Eric Gardner. And I went to the vigil of his daughter, Erica Gardner. And at that vigil, people were crying, saying that politicians don't care about them. Politics is a politricks. And you know what? And I said that, no.
We in this bitch again.
We in here. Sorry, but we're in here. And it's time that someone took the stand, took the mantle, and fight. And that's what I'm doing.
That's great.
Thank you.
And you're a woman, right? So there's this whole tide of women being hopefully voted in.
And not only am I a woman, and I'm a woman of color, but I'm proud to be of Latino descent. And I'm taking on not one, but two political machines, Staten Island and Brooklyn. So I'm like the Ocasio-Cortez of the 23rd District.
Yes, and not only that, but people don't really recognize, maybe outside of New York, that our state senate is like all guys, all white guys.
Yeah, most of them are.
Most. I mean, we have some.
We have some, but the fact that we had an incident where a young woman was accused, Senator Jeff Klein, of misappropriate behavior. And he was included in the revision of the sexual harassment policy. That is like an oxymoron. You, sir, were accused, and now you are drafting the revision.
It makes me want to vomit.
Yeah, no, it should make you do. It should make you want to go vote.
Oh, that
it should make all women come out and vote. This is a shame. This is sad. And like I said, we can march and protest all we want, but the real power is in the polls. Power to the polls and power to the people.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and good luck to you. I hope you win.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is great. So, okay. We're at the Rally for Roe, and we are bringing in speaker after speaker to talk to. Hi. I'm so sorry. It's hard to see in this. No, this is fine. Okay. Should I come on this side? Yeah, we're gonna go this way so we can both not look right into this.
Great.
So why don't you introduce yourself to our viewers?
Okay. Hi, I'm Claire. I work in cancer research, and I'm here today because I think it's terrible that, making abortion illegal is going to only make it so that underserved communities have less access to it. It's going to just make it unsafe. It's not really going to stop anything, and it's a huge human rights and health issue.
So you said you work in cancer research, is that right?
Yes.
What are people talking about now that this Supreme Court nomination is clearly going to be anti-Roe? Are there people in health organizations concerned about this?
Absolutely.
Outside of their politics or across parties?
Across parties, for sure. And I mean, physicians who I've talked to who have worked in places where abortion is illegal, and just talking about the clinics where they have these women coming in who are having these coat hanger abortions, and then they have to abort, and they're putting their lives at immense risk. And it is just...
The whole thing is sickening, because it's the same party who doesn't want people to have condoms, wants people to only talk about abstinence, and yet then they won't allow people to also have the choice of what happens to their own body. It's just, what's the end game here?
I mean, I think the important thing is that this won't be ending abortion. It's just going to be ending legal, safe abortion. So what you're really doing is just... it's going to be a lot of the southern red states where women will not have access to that, and a lot of poor women especially will not have access to go to another state and get that safe procedure done. And so it's going to be terrible.
And so there'll be more poor people, because having a child is an expensive proposition, and it just doesn't seem like, it just seems insane to do something like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with the conservative values on the other end. They don't want to support families. They don't want to support education. They don't want to support
pro-life if you're not going to take care of the child after.
Exactly. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
You're watching the Rally for Roe. And Zephyr, could you come and chat with us for a minute? I'm so sorry we're in the sun. And so I'll let you do your own introduction.
Okay, my name is Zephyr Teachout. I'm running for Attorney General of New York State.
Taking Schneiderman's seat away from him. Well, it's already gone.
Actually, just to be fair.
Yeah, she's great.
There's Attorney General Barbara Underwood, who's truly brilliant, and she's a powerhouse.
But she's not running for the...
She's not running, so, but I will ask her to stay if she would want to after I get elected. Yeah.
That'd be great. Talk about the things you think you can do with that office. I know Schneiderman's been instrumental in the anti-Trump resistance movement.
There is so much that the Attorney General's office can do. One, the New York Attorney General's office has the authority to regulate Trump's businesses and foundations. And if there's reason to think there's illegality, which there is, then that's the Attorney General's purview, is investigating the illegality in those businesses. And I really believe in following the money. I'm an anti-corruption lawyer, constitutional law professor. I've also been litigating against Donald Trump since 3 days after he took office. So this is continuing what I've done. But there's so much else. In Rhode Island, just last week, the Rhode Island Attorney General brought a major lawsuit against fossil fuel companies for harming our air and water. When you can't trust the EPA, with or without Scott Pruitt, you need the Attorney General standing up to protect our environment. When you can't trust financial regulation, you need the Attorney General standing up to protect financial regulation. And here in New York, we got a serious problem of corruption and sexual misconduct, ongoing scandal in New York State, and you need the Attorney General to be the watchdog on that.
And this SCOTUS nomination, we're obviously at a Rally for Roe, but yes, you mentioned a number of other issues that are going to be affected by if this particular nominee gets confirmed. Can you talk about
it? It affects everything. As Justice Kagan said in her recent dissent in the Janus case, there's a real danger of black-robed rulers governing us, striking down our union protection laws, striking down our anti-corruption laws, striking down our campaign finance laws, striking down equal protection protections, striking down the threat of striking down LGBTQ rights. So much is at stake. With it.
And really the environment, it's something that hasn't been really discussed other than the Pruitt fiasco.
Unfortunately, it's a really long litany, and it's not like, does he write complete sentences, which is unfortunately the way too many people think about it, is that does he in any way, in a deep way, understand the sacred principles of our Constitution?
Well, he seems to understand them, but not agree.
Well, he seems to want to rip him up. Yeah. So that's not acceptable. Yeah. I mean, there's never been a moment where law has been so much at the center of our politics.
What would you want people who are watching who are not in New York, so maybe not able to vote for you, what would you want them to do in their own state?
Well, look, the New York Attorney General has jurisdiction over Donald Trump's activities in a way that no other Attorney General does. And the New York Attorney General's office has had long tradition of being a powerhouse, but has the capacity to stand up on financial protection in a way no other Attorney General does. If you care about consumer fraud or financial fraud, you need a regulator in New York, because that's where so much of it is happening.
So you could, I'm thinking about real estate these days.
Absolutely, yes.
Everyone's saying that the next giant crisis is coming, and that would be the purview of hopefully your future office to try to do some regulation.
I mean, I'm the only candidate in this race who doesn't take corporate money. And a lot of that corporate money comes from real estate and hedge fund managers. And an essential part of the New York Attorney General's job is investigating lawlessness.
Does it seem like a conflict of interest? Like they should just not be able to take that money?
Well, yes, New York laws needs a lot of reform. Yeah. But it's central. And when you look at like where Donald Trump came from, he came out of New York real estate. So having a strong Attorney General being willing to take on New York real estate is absolutely essential.
So where can people donate?
Zephyr for New York, Zephyr, FORNY.com.
So, and I think people who also, you know, everyone used to live in New York, so people who are watching who may live in other places can talk to their New York friends.
Absolutely, and I'm sorry, I just saw a friend walk by. No,
that's fine. This is a very, it's a very full place, and a lot of really caring people are here who care about the.
When you can't trust law at the national level, I can't emphasize enough how important this office is. If you don't trust law at the national level, you need strong attorney generals, and there's a few states where they can make the biggest difference.
Thank you so much. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Looking forward to this. I'm Juliana Forlano. You're here at the Rally for Roe. Thanks so much, Zephyr Teach Out. She once ran for governor against Andrew Cuomo. As you can see, we also had Cynthia Nixon speak. I'm not sure if she's still here. I think she may have taken off. It is blazing hot here in New York City right now. And it's wonderful to have all these women running against Cuomo, and I hope she wins. You're watching Act TV. If you like this stream, please leave a comment. That really helps us be shared. It really helps us with the algorithm on Facebook. Follow us, share us with your friends. This is how we bring the voices of the people and the voices of the independent candidates to you. I'm Juliana Forlano. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. That was great. Here, I want to get I know I have her contact from the last time, but I think she was going to give it up.